Hello, everybody. Welcome in. Welcome back. I would love to say happy Wednesday, happy hump day. But today's a Thursday. Um, they forced me to stay at work yesterday. One of my coworkers didn't show up, so I got mandated to stay. So we're doing this. We're coming to you on a Thursday. Happy Thursday, though. Um, 17 and some change. I'm EcuDes17, here to bring you my 2 cents. Um, it's a wonderful day out. It's absolutely, I wouldn't call it gorgeous. It's not, you can't just, I don't like throwing around hyperboles, uh, throwing around high praise just for the sake of it. I think wonderful um, is a sufficient descriptor of how today is looking and stuff like that. Yeah, you could call it wonderful. It's all sunny, no clouds. It's not gorgeous because it's still. Uh, I don't know if we've made it to spring yet, but all the trees are still naked, so bare. It's not colorful yet, you know what I mean? Not all the colors are out and stuff like that. Um, the temperature is great. The temperature, I think it's like mid 50s. That's great. Um, not amazing, not perfect. But obviously you don't want it too hot either. Let me know in the comments what your ideal like temperature is. What do you is it 70? Is it 82? Is it 59? Um Today we're going to talk about two different things. Um we're really going to talk the topic of the day is going to be martial arts and fighting and self-defense and stuff like that. Um, that's gonna be the topic of the day. I got a Q&A that we're gonna be a part of. Um, but before we get into that topic, I wanted to voice. Um, I mean, I would say my frustration, but it's not that serious. Just an observation that I made that I don't necessarily agree with. It's become kind of nomenclature at this point to repeat this, or like it, it's a phrase that everybody here has probably heard by now, or a sentiment, I should say, that everybody here has heard. And they talk about people um in regards to screen time. They talk about um people being glued to their screens, or uh more specifically, um people staring into uh, a glowing box, right? People refer to doom scrolling, but they're not just referring to doom scrolling when they say that we live in a society obsessed with staring into a glowing box, and they try to like demean the activity, like downplay the activity. Like if you looked at a person from like a ceiling, um they would look stupid. Humans today would look stupid with how much time they spend staring into a screen. And it's, really a deductive really a deductive interpretation of of how our species is using technology. In the worst case scenario, like even doom scrolling, in the worst case scenario, I mean, maybe now it's getting even worse with AI slop and stuff like that, making it even more brain numbing, um, brain rotting. But and there is probably, I haven't seen like the specific studies, but I know that there's studies and correlations between attention span and shorts and stuff like that. But I just to me, the internet and computers, handheld devices, like especially cell phones, like these are such amazing pieces of technology that, I mean, it borders magic. Like I think, like you're talking about staring into a screen, but I mean, you can go anywhere in the world, uh, past or present on your phone. Like the opportunities are immense and endless, and you're watching voices, you're watching people from the past, and you're watching people that were communicating to you from the other side of the planet. And the amount of time you would have to spend in a library to equivalate like the knowledge that you can gain from uh, uh, half an hour on YouTube, and then even uh, further back, like there was a point where like the tablets that we used to communicate with each other were stones. And and the distance that we can get our message would be the distance that we could carry it on a stone. And to have and however long that takes, and to have a technology where like you're just instantaneously uh, grabbing excerpts and blips of humanity throughout the entire world, past and present. And you have imagination that like comes to life, and you have music, and you have business that you could be doing on your phone, and stocks and live feeds. And I mean, we know, like if you brought a phone, just like, where are we, 2025, I don't know, give it 150 years. Let's say you brought a smartphone 150 years into the past. You're magic. It's magic. Like you're holding magic in your hands, and it's absolutely incredible. So I don't necessarily like the deduction of like, oh, just staring into these screens. Like I said, even doom scrolling, so to speak, you're still, you know, accessing antics of people like you're still expanding like your view, your world, your reach, like what you can see and stuff like this. Like, um, of course, there's negatives. Like if you're only watching, you know, people getting into fights at stores and stuff like that, then this kind of gets programmed into your mind and stuff. But um as far as like residual negativity and maybe expecting conflict, or looking for conflict, self-fulfilling prophecies and stuff like that. Um, but you're still seeing things happen that you wouldn't have been able to be exposed to without a digital device. So it's not just staring into a glass box. Like if it was literally like staring into a glass box, that would be the equivalent of having your phone off and just staring at it. Like, okay, you can make fun of that. You know what I mean? Or just like staring at the back of your phone. That's staring at a glass box. But no, there's a lot of things happening like on this screen from like all over the world. You know what I mean? The internet is magic. And so just keep that in mind next time you hear somebody like deduce, screen time to staring into a box. Like, oh, they should be outside instead. And it's like doing what? Like they should be outside experiencing the real world instead. It's like, I mean, yeah, you got to do that too. I'm not saying you don't have to do that. Of course, you have to do that. You know, um, but speaking of things that we have to do, um, it was Easter recently, and so I spent Easter. I watched The Son of God on Easter, and you know, I've also spoken in the past about different mythologies that require us to like get along with those that we don't like, and Jesus, one of his most famous quotes, one of his most famous sentiments is, his desire for us to turn the other cheek, uh, the proverbial cheek, um, the metaphorical cheek, or the literal one, and that's all. That's great. That's awesome. That is absolutely awesome. Um, but at the end of the day, we only have two cheeks, and I mean maybe four if you wanna be cute, but no, it's the idea to me, the interpretation that uh, I enjoy subscribing to is that that phrase isn't speaking to um, infinite tolerance, uh, but rather control of self. So it's not about allowing disrespect or harm to um, matriculate and continue, but it's about being able to choose restraint when it's an applicable option, right? Um, Not always is it an applicable option, and a lot of times that's like self defense situations and stuff like that. And we're gonna talk about martial arts in a little bit. Um, but yeah, let's do that now. Um we could talk about martial arts now and stuff like that. We'll talk about just a Q and A. We'll pitch some questions um and some answers and stuff like that. And I'm trying to it's gonna see I try to move on, but I know I forgot something that I was gonna say, and that just lingers with me um like I try to remember it like as we're moving forward and stuff like that. Um but so if you guys haven't seen um if you haven't seen any like shows in the past, or you don't know kind of like any of my credentials, so to speak, I'm not a superhero. I'm less than an amateur um when it comes to martial arts, but I was uh a hobbyist. It is something. I did some wrestling in high school. Um, I did a couple summers, with a boxing coach, working, and I did like 6 months of taekwondo, and I did jujitsu for a few years. Um, and and it's always been uh, um part of my workout is to like hit the bag or spar. Um so so I have decent experience in that regard. I've never had like an actual like amateur or pro like fight or competition or anything like that. Um but yeah, I just laid it out so you kind of get an idea of you know my exposure level. Um, this way, um, this way when we discuss these things. I don't want to sell myself short either. Like, I wouldn't be speaking on this if I didn't, you know, uh, I kind of, yeah. All right, never mind. Let's get into it. Um, before I end up somewhere in the weeds and I don't know how to get back to the sidewalk and things like that. Um, my brain's going in like a million different places. So let's get to this list of questions here and stuff like that, and we'll look at how that goes. The first question it asks, it says, how long does it take to actually get good enough to defend myself in a real situation? Um, I don't think it takes long at all. I would say about a summer. I would say one summer would be all that you would need to be able to defend yourself competently in in most situations, in a lot of one-on-one situations. Um, believe it or not, most people don't know how to fight, because most people think they know how to fight, so they don't ever invest any time into learning how to fight. Um, a lot of people, it hurts their ego to have to go into a dojo and be taught how to fight by another person. With men, it's by another man. Like, they don't, you know, a lot of men, they don't want to go to another man and learn how to fight, because they feel like that's something that they should naturally know how to do. Like, that should like be an instinctual thing. Like, most men feel like they should know how to defend themselves instinctually. Most men think that they can. Most men never thought about, like, or rarely have ever thought about the possibility, or um, the idea that they're vulnerable in a attack situation. Um, but um, I mean, little frail people, they do. A lot of little frail people would, but most people, even the people that don't assume that they're naturally able to fight, they don't realize the degree to which they're defenseless. Um, really, not much training at the fundamentals in most, like, the fundamentals in any applicable martial art is enough to, like, fuck somebody's day. Like, it's enough to, um the fundamentals will get you through, like, a large portion of the male population. Um, just knowing basic takedown defenses, um, 2-3 submissions, how to move on the ground, um, how to climb the ladder, in jujitsu, like which positions are dominant, which positions you're in trouble being in, and how to change from one to the other. Um, you know, you do taekwondo for 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 a year, and you could kick somebody into another planet, like into another dimension. Like you could kick someone's head off. Like uh, you do taekwondo and you wear like some light shoes. Oh man, you put shoom. Like you can kick people from angles that they don't even know exist. They don't even know they could get kicked from those angles. You know, and these are the good ones. These are taekwondo. People don't think it's good for fighting, but it is. You just gotta kind of know how to apply it and stuff like that. Taekwondo and boxing, kickboxing and Muay Thai and wrestling and jiu-jitsu and judo. Like these are good ones. These are ones that you put in a summer training in these and you're pretty good. Now, of course, it's all situational. You know what I mean? If you put in a summer training in jiu-jitsu and all you learn, like the main thing you learn is how to like fight off your back, and then you try to apply that on concrete. You could run into some trouble there, you know what I mean? But like um so like work on like no like I said, know a couple takedowns, a few takedowns, some basic takedown defense, and that's it. um Number two, I got it says, do I need to be super strong or fit before I start training? Or can I begin as a total couch potato? A total couch potato. Absolutely. You know, that's to me the best place to begin. Um, because why the hell not? I mean, no, you don't gotta be in shape and stuff like that. I mean, the right gym matters as well, you know. But most gyms you go, you discuss your fitness goals and stuff like that, and it's not like high school football. Like if it was, it's not like high school sports where it's like you regret not being in shape before camp, because they push you as hard as you would be getting pushed if you were in shape, regardless of whether or not you are. Um, in like a martial arts gym, they're kind of going to meet you where you're at a little bit more. You know what I mean? It's more individualized treatment programs, for lack of a better uh, to use some clinical terminology, but no, it's more individualized to your goals and stuff like that. They're not gonna, you know, push you and to exhaustion unless that's what you want. And I don't know. I To me, it's like I like getting in shape, doing the thing that you need to be in shape in. You know what I mean? I kind of guess the mindset. I guess I understand the mindset. I actually did something similar when I was a teenager. I was on a basketball team and I took 2 weeks off so I could get in better shape and be better at basketball. And looked at me incredulously. Like, why would you take time away from the thing that you're trying to get? Like, nothing gets you in better football shape than playing football. And nothing gets you in better basketball shape than playing basketball. And et cetera, et cetera. Like, if there's an activity that you want to be in the specific shape for, like going around and running and doing push-ups and pull-ups, like this is all great, but and these are the, you know, you would have to find strength specific or you know you would have to find specific exercises that mimic the motions that you would be doing in the sport. It's like just go do the sport. You know what I mean? The fitness will come to you. And everybody, and that's a trap too. You want to get in shape before you start doing martial arts, and it's like then you may never start doing martial arts because you may never get in good enough shape. It just kind of makes another excuse and stuff. What's the best martial art for a beginner who just wants to learn self-defense and not compete or do sport stuff? I wouldn't. I can't. I'd love to say jujitsu, but if you do jujitsu, um, you're gonna be competing in rolling sessions. I mean, even if it's light competition, like you're gonna be when you're training, it's gonna be light competition, right? You're gonna be uh, grappling against your peers to try to you're trying to do the move that you guys just learned in live, and they're trying to do the move in the reversals, and you need that live resistance in jiu-jitsu um, for it to manifest anything. And that's unfortunate because I do think jiu-jitsu is one of the top two um, one of the best. I think it's one of the best self defenses. Maybe top three and top three or four. I won't go any lower than four. But um, you can do. People don't believe it, or a lot of flack has been received in the martial arts community when you're talking about they almost call them like cookie cutter martial arts nowadays because they're like box cutter, right? They're like all over the place. They call them, right. Well, not McDojo. McDojo is something different, but just commercialized, right? These commercialized karate and jujitsu places, karate and taekwondo. But karate is used to be huge in the states, and that was the number one. When people thought about martial arts for decades, they thought about karate. Karate, and there is I hesitate. I could speak more specifically to Taekwondo. Um, there is enough to extrapolate to be able to fight and stuff like that. And um, yeah, I think something like Taekwondo, you could certainly defend yourself, and it's the same with karate. I can't not speak to karate. It's the same. Um, and when you're learning these katas or whatever they call them, it's so much like wipe on, wipe off, right? They had us learning these forms. It's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, Sikaya, Haya, like 5, 9, and then you don't know, why you're doing all this stuff, um, until you get into, some sort of sparring situation, and you realize that you're just blocking shit. You're just blocking shit. And you're like, how am I just blocking shit? It's because you're practicing, it's because you're doing all these forms and you're making the muscle memory to do the blocks and stuff like that. So same thing with Mr. Miyagi, wipe on, wipe off. And he gets into a fight and now he's freaking um but yeah, and then the strikes and stuff like that. Um So if you're just a beginner and you don't want to do competitions or sport stuff, um, I think karate or taekwondo is more than sufficient, right? Um, with that being said, I think that's like the freaking sixth and seventh best option you could choose. But if you don't want to do like competition type stuff, like sparring and stuff like that, it would be something down there. I mean, it would be one of those two because you know, um, I mean, you could do if you find like a striking gym, like a boxing or kickboxing that doesn't require any sparring, then that works. Um, well, martial arts training make me too aggressive or change my personality? Um, it shouldn't. I mean, I don't know how old, like, if we're talking about an adult, I mean, change your personality, maybe. Yeah. Yeah, probably. I mean, like, um, give you a little bit more confidence and stuff like that. Everybody talks about all these beneficial transformations that they go through by engaging in martial arts and sticking to it and stuff like that, and it's just I mean yes and no. It's what you extrapolate from it, you know what I mean. It does, if you're able to commit to anything and watch yourself grow, and especially something that's both beneficial for body and mind, then yeah, you might see some residual personality um effects, positive effects and stuff like that. um but I was I did really well when I was doing jujitsu, and no, I didn't really change my personality. Some people they become. I mean, I guess that happened to me a little bit. Some people they become like they start identifying as a martial artist. And I guess in my peak when I was going like twice a week and I was really big into like the UFC and stuff like that, it was a lot more of my identity, um, for sure. Um, but the training shouldn't make you too aggressive unless it's like a dog fighting or something like that. Like unless you're working with like savage coaches that are like pitting people up against each other for like prestige and like fun and like ego, like just making people have like wars and stuff like that. I mean, you shouldn't, training martial arts, like it shouldn't make you more aggressive unless you have like an aggressive uh vibe in the gym. But I mean, with that being said, hey man, like sometimes like that should like for some people like that shit does though come to think of it, like for some people that shit does wake something up inside of them, you know what I mean, something that's been dormant, something that they didn't even know they had. um Deion Sanders calls it the dog. I remember when he was coming back to play for the Ravens, they asked him what was the precipice behind that decision. He said he was playing on an indoor field and he was covering receivers and he just felt that dog in him. And yeah, some people like if you get in a gym and you start throwing hands and you start connecting all over the place and you know what I mean? And you start like working takedowns and like you're grappling, you're manhandling people. Like I don't know, like if you're good at it and you're like some people, like it might wake up some shit. It might make you want to like compete, but then there's levels, and part about being a martial artist is being able to like control that shit. Which is just what we were talking about earlier. Is self control and stuff like that, and being able to harness that. You know what I mean? If you go into a gym and it wakes up some kind of primal like aggression in you, then maybe that's what you were missing in your life. But make sure you keep that in the right constraints within the gym, and then you know, and then look into like competing and stuff like that. You know what I mean? But I mean, if you're worried, like if you're like a 45-year-old dude and your life isn't that great and you're worried that you're gonna, you know, do some martial arts and then be tempted to like beat up your family, then maybe don't do martial arts. You know what I mean? But if it does make you aggressive, then keep that, aggression where it belongs. You know what I mean? Um, how do I know if a self-defense or martial arts class slash school is good and not a scam or McDojo? Well, I would say first and foremost, make sure the place is filmed. Like make sure that there's cameras. I think that's a big one. You want all your training sessions to be on camera. Um, and See how the general level of cleanliness. It shouldn't smell musty and moldy. Um, and A lot of places they'll let you try it out for a little bit. See kind of you can see the demeanor of their pupils and stuff. The competition in martial arts is uh, pretty fierce, and you don't. I think finding a McDojo is more rare than people worry about. But you know, ask to get a trial. Most places will give you a trial, and just see for yourself. Trust your gut. Trust your instincts. You know what I mean? Um, Anything that kind of looks suspicious, uh, just kind of trust that. Um, but I think another good sign is the amount of people as well, right? You want um, a decent amount of people, not too many, not too little. It says, is it better to learn striking, um, like punching and kicking, or grappling, like wrestling and submissions, first for self defense? Well, you did say first, and doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. I mean, all fights start on the ground, so there's the reasoning behind starting with striking. But all fights start standing. So there's the rationale behind starting off with a striking uh, martial art. But most fights end up on the ground, so there's your rationale for starting off with a grappling martial art. I find it awesome. Bruce Lee once said that um, somebody who is rudimentally trained in boxing and wrestling, um, I don't want to misquote, but I think he said could like kick his ass. Like I think he was saying that he would struggle mightily against somebody with 1 year of boxing and wrestling skills. And this is Bruce Lee. This is how much he respected those forms of martial arts. And that's you get one of each and you're really good. You know what I mean? If you take one form of striking, one form of grappling, and you've got all your bases. You've pretty much got all your bases covered. You know what I mean? Um, but let's do one more. I'm gonna wrap it up on this one. Um, I guess I could go with this one because it's common. It says, what if someone bigger and stronger than me attacks me? Does size and strength really not matter like they say in martial arts? And it's like it. yes and no. You know what I mean? That's one of those questions that it's like so there's so many variables. You know, size and strength absolutely matter. You know, this is why we have weight classes, weight divisions, and stuff like that. And but they matter in a lot of different ways. You know, if somebody is stronger, bigger, and stronger, that typically means that they're slower, a lot slower, and slower and less agile, and giving you opportunities to escape or to land multiple strikes in succession before they can retaliate and stuff like that. And little people can beat big people all the time. Like it's very conditional. You know what I mean? It's a you can't pinpoint the formula. You know, skill matters as well. You know, skill matters and size matters. Um, you know, if somebody is ridiculously larger than you, um, then they can throw you, they can toss you, they can slam you on your head. But at the same time, if you're really good, you can use like your entire body to like choke them out. Like you can use like their clothes and your body, like you can, and then it just becomes like, do you get the choke in before you get the power bombed? Um, but it depends on what you're trying to do, and who you're trying to do it to. It's never cut and dry like bigger person wins or more trained person wins. um there's a whole formula that goes into it, like how's the people's footing, and like um and different stuff like that. But that takes us pretty that takes us pretty late into the day, into the evening. um I'm just gonna see if anything fascinating happened um on this day in history, just to see if there's anything good. um Damn, no, it's all war shit. It's all war shit. Um, but Kristen Stewart is a notable birth on April 9th. That's the Bella chick from that's the Twilight uh chick. And Lil Nas X. All right. I thought it was. I thought it was the Titanic anniversary soon, or maybe just past. I know it's like right around now. I think was the Titanic. I think maybe was it the 15th? No, that was the 12th. You see? Oh, it was the 14th. Okay, so maybe what does the 14th? The 14th falls on a Tuesday. I don't know. Maybe next Wednesday we'll talk about the Titanic or something. Um, but until then, y'all have yourselves a good time. Thank you for being. Goodbye.